Hey, what's up guys, it's Macho MMA with another predictions video. Today I'll be looking at most of the fights on the UFC 262 card. I was going to cover all the fights, but after the Hermansson-Shavazian fight and the Edwards-Diaz fight were changed, at the time of making this I wasn't sure what was going to get added, so I did the fights I knew were going to be there. But alright, let's get right into it. Shane the Hurricane Burgos faces off against Edson Jr. Barboza. Burgos is coming off a decision loss to Josh Emmett, while Barboza is coming off a decision win over Makwan Amerikani. Burgos is a striker who relies heavily on his durability. He has a low hands type of approach to his striking. He is his best when he gets his jab going, and he'll have to start popping it out early. He likes to be the one pressing forward, and he will have to against Barboza. He has to be the one pushing Edson backwards in order to go first in most exchanges. Barboza is also a stand-up fighter. He's going to be the quicker fighter. He'll have a huge experience advantage as he's been in the game for a long time. And of course, everyone knows his kicking game is top tier. He kicks hard and also fast. He throws a lot of spinning kicks too. He will have to use his low kicks to stop Burgos from pressing him so much. He's at his best when he's dictating the pace and is giving time to start his fight and go first, something I'm not sure Burgos will let him do. His defense on hooks is pretty good as he keeps his hands high, but he's vulnerable to straight shots down the middle, and I think Burgos' jab will land consistently all night. This is going to be a stand-up affair for sure. I don't think this hits the ground unless it's during a finishing sequence. I do believe that Barboza is the better fighter in general, but I think Burgos is the perfect concoction of Edson's weaknesses. I think Burgos will push Barboza backwards and use his jab to enter and land his big shots. I think Barboza is tough enough to take the big shots though. The Hurricane tears through Barboza. Burgos by decision. Next up, Catlin blonde fighter Chukagian faces off against Viviane Vivi Araujo. Chukagian is coming off a decision win over Cynthia Calvillo, while Araujo is coming off a decision win over Roxanne Modafferi. Chukagian is a tall, lengthy fighter with a pretty decent ground game. She usually has a reach and height advantage, but she'll only have the height advantage as they share the same reach this time around. At times she uses her advantages, but at other times she loses track of the distance. She also lacks explosivity at times, but she uses her kicks to maintain her range. She will have to fight at her kicking range and use her jab and front kicks to keep Araujo from pressing her too much. Araujo is also pretty well rounded. She is very active on the feet. She likes to be the one pressing forward, especially at the beginning of the fight. She likes to really get up in people's faces and pick up the pace. Chukagian will be looking to use her front kicks to maintain distance and keep the tempo low. She keeps a high pace through the fight and does a good job of entering by moving her head and slipping to land her combinations. She has a nice jab on her too. She's going to have to press forward and close that gap to land her big shots and hope to hurt Catlin. I think that Chukagian will have a hard time keeping Araujo off her and will get hit with some big shots. I think Vivi outlasts the blonde fighter. Araujo by decision. In the co-main event, Tony El Cucuy Ferguson faces off against surging lightweight Beneil Benny Dariush. Tony is coming off a decision loss against Charles Oliveira, while Dariush is coming off a decision win over Diego Ferreira. Tony has had back-to-back contenders in his last two fights, and now he faces someone who is good but not great. Tony is a well-rounded fighter. He has a unique striking style that is very entertaining. His jab and straight are so fast, especially his jab. It's lightning quick and also pretty powerful. He will have to use his speed advantage to pick Beneil apart. Dariush tends to lose control once he gets touched. If he can land something significant then let him run into another shot, he could possibly finish this fight. Tony is very durable. He has been rocked a few times before, but is always able to get himself out of terrible positions. His ground game is unique. I don't know if he has the advantage there, as Oliveira had his way with Tony on the ground and Benny is pretty solid on the ground. Tony has to use his leg kicks to chop at Dariush and keep the fight standing, as he'll pick him apart with his speed and creativity. Dariush is a grappler who's been collecting striking highlights that we've all forgotten that he's a grappler. One initial downside will be his weight. He has missed weight a few times, most recently against Scott Holtzman. Hopefully that won't be an issue, as this card has already seen some significant changes. He's really solid in the grappling as he likes to wrestle and implement his jiu-jitsu. If he does decide to strike with Tony, I think he'll be at a huge disadvantage, as Tony has superior speed and his technique is just cleaner, as Benny sometimes wings shots and looks pretty sloppy. Dariush is also very durable. He's eaten some heavy shots in his last couple fights that would have slept most people. I think Dariush will start with the grappling, as he probably liked what he saw in the Oliveira fight. That's his best way to victory. Dariush should be very careful as he tends to fade later in fights. If this fight remains on the feet, it will be an all-out war, an absolute slugfest, as both guys have the tendency to hit but also get hit. Both guys are also pretty durable, but Tony will have the advantage if it's a stand-up fight. If the fight hits the ground, it's anyone's game, really, because Dariush's wrestling isn't that good, and sometimes he shoots from way far out, especially when he's tired. And if Tony can sprawl, he can look for submissions. But if he does get a hold of him, he'll be stronger and could possibly hold him there. So maybe Dariush's best plan of attack would be to go to the ground. I think Tony's creative striking and speed will be too much for a sluggish Dariush. Dariush will come out looking for the takedown and will fail and tire as Tony gets going late. El Cucuy haunts Benny's title dreams. Ferguson by TKO. In the main event, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira faces off against Iron Michael Chandler for the vacant lightweight UFC title. Oliveira is coming off a decision win over Tony Ferguson, while Chandler is coming off a quick knockout of Dan Hooker. Chandler came into the UFC and instantly put himself on the map by dispatching Dan Hooker in the first round on a corner card. He is a wrestler who has developed his hands over time. His striking is still not the best, but he does enough and mixes it up well to get the best of his opponents. Iron Mike is probably one of the most explosive fighters I have ever seen in the UFC. He explodes into his power shots seamlessly. He has a good sense of range and moves in and out very nicely. He sets up his explosive straight. It has caught so many people where he'll switch stances and throw the 1 and 2, and the switch followed with how fast that straight comes catches people so off guard, and they've been put down because of it. He does a good job of mixing that shot up by peppering the body with jabs and power hands beforehand. He'll be looking to set up his power hands by making Charles think and guess where the punches are going and switch it up. He has powerful and fast wrestling and will have the clear advantage in the wrestling, but his jiu-jitsu won't be as good as Charles, but he does have a few good submissions in his arsenal. I think he'll avoid the grappling first as he thinks he has the advantage on the feet, but if he has to, I think he'll shoot for the takedowns and probably get them. He will have to keep it on the feet, close the distance, mix the strikes to the head and body, and look for his big shot. Oliveira has been in the game for such a long time. He used to fight at featherweight but now has found new life at lightweight and has grinded his way to a title shot. He just like Chandler is a grappler who has developed their striking over time. He has shown great improvement in his striking and has always been a threat on the ground but is looking more dangerous than ever with his submissions. Charles will have to hold his own in the striking. He has to get the respect on the feet as fast as possible because he cannot let Chandler push him back on the fence and get comfortable. He needs to use his combinations to confuse Michael. I don't think he can win this on the feet because he lacks the power and doesn't have natural striking skills. He plants sometimes at the worst possible times and usually gets hit because of it. He will have the uppercut and the knee down the middle as Chandler will be the shorter fighter and he stands much wider and lower. The low kick will also be there all night on that front leg of Michael Chandler. On the ground, it is no secret that this man is an absolute beast. He has the most submission wins in UFC history. He got that nasty armbar on Tony. His wrestling is actually not that great. His defensive wrestling is actually pretty bad. He gets overpowered very easily as we saw against Kevin Lee. He also seems to give up that position and let himself be on his back as he thinks he's very dangerous from there, which he is. But I don't think that would be a great idea. If he wants success on the ground, he's going to have to be on top as Chandler could do serious damage from the top and he's also very heavy and hard to move. I think Chandler's pressure will push Charles backwards where he will have a hard time producing offense and he will feel the power and look for takedowns where he will be overpowered and finished. Iron Mike Chandler becomes the new UFC lightweight champion of the world. Chandler by TKO. Alright guys, those are my predictions for UFC 262. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know who you think is going to win and which fight you're looking forward to the most. It's going to be a great fight week and as always, let me know what you think and who you got. Take care.